Hello and welcome to your weekend mini nerve. I'm your host, Maureen Callahan, and today we are going to have some real fun. Earlier this week, the trailer for Ryan Murphy's new miniseries called American Love Story, John F. Kennedy Jr. and Carolyn Bessette dropped, and this thing amassed over 24 million views in just 4 days. As you know, I have a vested interest in the retelling of this story for the millionth time because I believe I wrote the true version and ask not. I don't think you're going to see the real story here. So we're going to take this trailer apart bit by bit. And then this Thursday, the show premieres and they are going to give us the first 3 episodes in that night alone, which means we are going to have a lot to feast upon. This will be the next show that the nerve unless it's a total bomb, unless it's unwatchable in the way that Ryan's All's Fair is like unwatchable. This will be the next viewing over here at the nerve. Okay. So if you want to talk about real talk about fake people. And that extends, by the way, to those who would perpetuate the myth of the fairy tale love story between a homicidal, suicidal maniac and a shallow, image-obsessed, cocaine-addicted Carolyn Bessette. Hey, it's built for the nerve. Here we go. John always got up early for work. He really cared about that.
Calvin Klein's office, please hold. John F. Kennedy Jr. is considered America's most eligible bachelor.
Setting the table.
John, I want to introduce you to Carolyn Bessette. Carolyn, this is John Kennedy.
Okay. So this sets up the moment when John, then the world's most eligible bachelor, this is absolutely true, takes a first look at Carolyn Bessette, and that was not the way they first met, okay? And is immediately captivated. Now, listen, at the time they met, Jackie O was alive, okay? And Carolyn Bessette, would not have made it through the doorman at 1040 Fifth Avenue where Jackie lived. Okay, she never would have made it through. John at the time was dating a movie star who has since retired named Daryl Hannah. And Daryl came from real money. Her family were prominent Democratic operatives in Chicago. Jackie didn't like Daryl because she was an actress, shades of the royal family, not wanting an actress in Meghan Markle really in that mix. There's a reason for this, okay? Now, but we're getting the setup is that this is a love story for the ages and that these two were fated. And I mean F-A-T-E-D, fated to be, and not so, because Carolyn Bessette, and it's all in Ask Not, worked very, very, very hard to land John F. Kennedy Jr., who could have had any woman he wanted. I'm talking a royal, I'm talking movie stars, I'm talking supermodels, anyone he wanted. Now, here we're going to get the tease of the beginning of this courtship, which is played in a very, I find it odd. Here we go. Carolyn's looking at shoes. That was about the depth of her intellect.
Sorry, is this a bad time? What's going on?
JFK Jr. was just here to see Carolyn.
Calvin Klein.
How old were you when you realized you were the son of a president?
I don't think anyone's ever asked me that before.
Several things. First of all, that segment opens with Carolyn like assiduously arranging a pair of shoes. And trust me when I tell you that that's the beginning and the end of Carolyn's interest. She had very limited interests. They were fashion, partying with famous people, dating famous men, stealing her best friend's boyfriends, holing up in her shitty apartment in New York City when she met John Jr. so that he would think that she was off doing fabulous things with fabulous people, when really it was very sad and very grim. I mean, this is before Instacart. She didn't leave the apartment. Okay, I talked to her friends for Ask Not. Drugs, partying at Save the Robots at 3 a.m. till 3 a.m., which was like an underground club here in New York City, downtown. And she kind of was well matched with JFK Jr., whose interests were very much the same. And I know John had like a very goody-goody image, but John liked his cocaine as well, okay? He was interested in partying, in famous people, in a good time, and that was about it. So, that clip, Carolyn worked at Calvin Klein. That part is true. Her ascent was rapid because she looked the part. And Calvin is like, oh my God, John F. Kennedy Jr. is up here. Now Calvin's also a star fucker. That's fair. And he is a gay man who married a woman named Kelly Klein. She was named Kelly Richter, I think was her maiden name. But Kelly married Calvin, and everybody knew this was a lavender marriage, at least on Calvin's part, because he needed to look like he was a straight man. But, the idea that like a Calvin Klein would be gobsmacked when, you have to have a level of reptilian ambition to get to where Calvin Klein did. Okay. So these are like really, like these are people who are like savage. Are we going to get that treatment in Ryan Murphy's American Love Story? I don't think so. Something tells me we're not. Way more interesting story with the kind of stuff you really can't make up, Ask Not is the dark underbelly of it's like how we talk about Hollywood. We talk about the dark underbelly of it. It's the way we talk about American morning television and the dark underbelly of it. And trust me, we're going to see a lot more dark maneuvers and behaviors as these weeks progress. Trust me, we all know what I'm talking about. Back to John and Carolyn, who also, by the way, especially if you're watching outside of the United States, even though they were famous, they're also dead. And in America, the law holds that you cannot libel the dead. Okay, so Ryan Murphy can do whatever he wants with these characters. Here we go.
There's a lot of trade-offs being with someone like that.
Basic red roses. Oh, John Acosta on the street. How romantic.
They belong to everyone.
Shiny people is someone who is either like Carolyn's sister or a jealous friend or a publicist or John's assistant saying shiny people, they belong to everyone. A brilliant observation. Carolyn, again, aggressively went after arguably the most famous man in the world at the time, the most wanted. And by the way, especially if you lived in New York City, John Kennedy Jr. was one of the most recurring characters on the front pages of New York City tabloids. And he loved the attention. He loved it. He had a great relationship with the press. So this whole bullshit notion that Carolyn Bessette didn't know what she was getting into in pursuing the world's most wanted man, most famous Kennedy, this side of Jackie. Okay, only Jackie's star power eclipsed his. And she worked for Calvin Klein, outfitting like very, very, very famous women. And she would, this is another thing her friends told me that I write about. She would be very careful when she was outfitting, say, like a Diane Sawyer or like the wealthy wife of whoever, famous, powerful women. She would keep the mask on. Not impressed, just not impressed. Don't even know who you are. You're just another customer coming in to drop tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars on Calvin Klein clothes. The minute these women would leave, Carolyn would turn to her colleagues in that room and say, what do you think that woman does? How do you think she got her money? Where do you go to meet men like that? In the world of e-commerce, order fulfillment can make or break your business. That's why ShipStation's all-in-one platform is helping over 1 million businesses maximize their efficiency. Their platform bridges order management, inventory tracking, returns, warehouse integration, and powerful analytics. It compares rates across USPS, UPS, and FedEx to unlock discounts of up to 90% off and allows you to keep pre-negotiated carrier rates as well. ShipStation's automations, like bulk label printing and sending tracking updates, saves users an average of 15 hours per week and cuts customer service inquiries by 12%. Built-in returns insights reveal exactly what products are coming back and why, while detailed analytics spotlight where you're saving money and where to optimize further. Connect to over 200 sales channels in one place. No more juggling 5 to 7 disconnected tools. Set it up once and let automations handle the rest. Try ShipStation free for 60 days with full access to all features. No credit card needed. Go to ShipStation.com and use code Maureen for 60 days for free. 60 days gives you plenty of time to see exactly how much time and money you're saving on every shipment. That's ShipStation.com, code Maureen. ShipStation.com, code Maureen. Here, Carolyn, again, she had to be media savvy to be that high up at Calvin Klein. Had to. She's getting schooled. One of my least favorite tropes, and one here at the Nerve, another mission of mine to obliterate, that the media is evil. Here we go.
There's your world. And then there's mine. Every story needs an angle. A happy couple doesn't sell papers.
Okay, that's clearly meant to be the New York Post, the big bad New York Post. So first that begins with someone says there's a lot of trade-offs to Carolyn, to being with someone like that. No shit. You either can deal with that level of fame or you actively want it, as say a Meghan Markle so clearly did and does, or you're perhaps a little bit more trepidatious about, do you want to be with somebody who has a big life like that? Huge, enormous. The media will never leave him alone, in part because this guy never wanted the media to leave him alone. True. And then we see the way that this, the camera comes up on the Kennedy compound, like the alternate White House. It's like a very foreboding place. It's almost Hitchcockian. And I would never give Ryan Murphy like that kind of an accolade, but you know what he's going for, right? It's sinister, it's foreboding. And then you have this amber lit dining room, everybody gathering around the Kennedy dining table. And you can see in the visual language that Ryan Murphy is using here that he's positioning this story as the American version of The Crown. Call it The Clown, okay? Again, the clown who wound up killing this woman and her sister and himself in a wholly preventable crash that I theorize with great legitimacy in Ask Not was a murder-suicide, okay? Call it The Clown. Now, this is my favorite. So casting is everything. And, Naomi Watts has become part of Ryan Murphy's stable. He clearly adores her. And listen, she's a great actress. And I think as a celebrity, she's got great personal style. All of that said, Naomi Watts is profoundly miscast as Jackie Kennedy Onassis. Okay. First of all, she's far too young to be playing Jackie. Okay. She's far too young. She presents too young. Secondly, Jackie did not ever meet Carolyn Bessette. In fact, John hid Carolyn from Jackie when he was toying around with her like a cat with a mouse the first go round when they dated. And by the way, he ghosted her brutally, Carolyn, first time around. And Carolyn knew that John was hiding her from Jackie, and she had a real problem with it because she kind of felt like, what am I? Like, just your sexual plaything, and like, I'm not good enough. Now, then we're also going to see someone playing a very serious Ted Kennedy. And I think most of you guys know how I feel about Ted Kennedy, who, among other depravities, left Mary Jo Kopechne, a 28-year-old campaign aide devoted to that family, to die in 3 feet of water and tried to cover it up. Let's watch it together. Let's go. Let's just go.
There isn't enough exposure in the world to prepare a woman to be your wife.
It's not a question of if I want to spend the rest of my life with you.
It's a question of if I'm cut out to be Mrs. JFK Jr.
Fame takes some things away from you, but it gives you more.
You understand? This family means something to people.
Ted Kennedy, do you understand? This family means something to people. Not anymore. You know, I don't think that this project is going to have the meta-analysis of the Kennedy family and what it does and did to the women who have the misfortune to think that marrying into it is going to be like becoming American royalty. It's not. It's not. Ask any of the women and girls I wrote about. But, you know, this is the crescendo, right? And then there's Calvin Klein counseling what looks like Carolyn off camera. He says to her, and again, a recurring motive, why the nerve exists. Fame takes a lot from you, but it gives you a lot more. First of all, I think that's a case-by-case basis. Secondly, I think that goes to how well you understand fame, how desperately you want it, how much you need it for oxygen. Again, all we need to look at is you know, I slipped. I was going to say Marilyn Manson because I find her as much of a ghoul. I mean, Meghan Markle, she can't breathe unless her name is on TMZ every 5 effing seconds, you know? And Carolyn would know this, and Calvin Klein would know this too. You know, this idea that like fame gives you a lot. Says the man who married a woman, even though he was an openly gay man, just so he could like keep his business afloat and his image going. That's got to be a specific kind of misery, don't you think? Okay, now, the final part of this trailer, before we get to what I believe is the coda I would have used, and, you know, we'll use it here at the Nerve, because why not? Carolyn is going to have, you know, these are the moments I think Ryan Murphy really loves, where a woman just becomes completely hysterical. And to be fair, Carolyn often became completely hysterical. I do believe she did suffer from a personality disorder. We'll get into it as we go through the meat, the glorious multi-course meal plated for all of us troublemakers that is going to be American Love Story, JFK Jr. and Carolyn Bessette. Okay, here we go.
Everything in my life has changed.
You'll never be given the benefit of the doubt again, Carolyn. The whole world will be watching you.
They won't leave me alone.
It's your choice what you want them to see.
Oh, now they're just calling it Love Story. Excuse me. The original title was American Love Story. Now it seems like they're just calling it Love Story. Regardless, you know, JFK Jr. was a bit of a drama queen himself. Okay. If this series depicts Carolyn as the real problem here, I'm going to have a lot to say about that, because they were both very problematic. But the New York media really did depict Carolyn as kind of the shrew. That's true. That said, though, so there are 2 images in there that I find really disturbing. One is obviously the recreation of the vicious fight. It was a physical fight they had in a public park in New York City, and that thing went all around the world, and that was before they were married. And one friend of Carolyn's told me that when they all saw that footage, that they said to themselves, there you go, John, you just met the real Carolyn. That's the real Carolyn, not this glamazon, you know, who presents herself as completely buttoned up and fully emotionally contained. Another friend of hers told me Carolyn was really fucked up. She was really fucked up. Fame was probably the worst thing for her, and yet she pursued it. In her pursuit of John, she pursued fame as well. Thirdly, that image of the 2 of them way out in the middle of a rough sea, they died at sea. There's nothing romantic about that. I find that a very, we'll see the full context of that image, that imagery, but I don't really like it. I don't like it. Now, I'll tell you who else is going to probably have a problem with this, and who we're going to be hearing from a lot on Instagram, I'm going to guess, is the person who, you know, we covered extensively the CNN ridiculous 3-part documentary, a hagiography really of JFK Jr. And a prominent talking head in that documentary was someone who constantly reminds us, whether she's asked or not, and she's really never asked anymore because this thing is ancient history, that they were not only best friends, but they were sisters, really. They were sisters. They were sisters. And lo, these many years, she is still banging that drum because it's the only thing she's got to hang on to. This individual can sum up this enterprise known as Love Story in 7 words or less. Here we go.
As a couple, they were sought after.
That was the one and only former Real Housewife of New York City, Carol Radziwill, who was married to John's cousin Anthony. And, you know, I always say, really, Carol was married to, she just married some guy who died of cancer, because really, she never lights up more than when she's talking about Carolyn Bessette and JFK Jr. And this was one of her contributions in that doc. As a couple, they were sought after. You don't fucking say. All right, troublemakers, that is it. That is it for today's mini. We will see you back here on Tuesday. We've got a really great nerve for you. And we've got a guest who is back by popular demand. He is a regular. And as we are all watching this unfolding, unthinkable mystery surrounding the Today Show host Savannah Guthrie's mother, Nancy, who at 84 years old, sickly, limited mobility, was ripped from her house at 2 a.m. from her bed. And it's just unthinkable. But, you know, we've been talking about who the likely suspects may be. And this is feeling to me a bit Nick Reiner adjacent. I could absolutely be wrong, and I am in no way accusing anybody of anything. But this guest is going to talk to us about these really high profile celebrity cases where you just think there's a line that no human would ever really cross. And we're going to learn about, actually, it's quite the opposite. Fascinating discussion. So I hope you come by for it. And then we've got the rest of the nerve going all next week. In the meantime, please send me an email at Maureen@devilmaycaremedia.com or DM me on Instagram at Maureen Callahan Writer or at The Nerve Show. Also be sure to check out The Nerve Substack. That is our email. TheNerveShow.com is where you go. You will see a prompt. Would you like to get The Nerve Substack? Say yes. Put your email in. There you go. It drops into your inbox every Friday around 3 p.m. Eastern. Also, Nerve merch is available at shopthenerve.com. You can also listen to The Nerve every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern on Megan's podcast playlist, which airs on Sirius XM channel 111, the Megyn Kelly channel. We will see you troublemakers again next week here at The Nerve, where you will never guess what we're about to say next. Troublemakers, are banks cashing your interest checks while you're buried in debt? PDS Debt can help. PDS Debt has freed hundreds of thousands from credit card, personal loan, and medical debt with tailored plans that put you first. No minimum credit score required. They've got an A+ from the Better Business Bureau and a nearly 5-star rating on Trustpilot, with thousands of real success stories. Every month you delay costs you more, so don't wait another month. Take back control in 30 seconds. Get your free personalized assessment and the best option for you at pdsdebt.com/nerve. That's pdsdebt.com/nerve.